Parent Involvement by Tara Carver, Jessica Klein, and Sarah Tarnowski. Meet the cast. This is Joe Pham, and these are his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Pham. Say hi, Joe. Say hello to Mr. Rolnick and the other teachers. The background. Joel Pham was a fourth grader in Mr. Rolnick's class at Park Elementary School. Joe's parents reliably attend conferences and return permission slips, but that was the extent of their involvement when coming to visit the school. Joel's mother, Mrs. Pham, worked at Quick Print, a local printing company that was known for encouraging its employees to do community service. The company even offered to pay its employees to volunteer during designated work days throughout the year. Most Quick Print employees whose children attend Park Elementary would come to school on these days and do whatever school staff needed them to do. Mrs. Pham, however, never visited the school during Quick Print's service day. He was somewhat perturbed, though, that Joel's parents, who to his knowledge had no such limitations, did not make of an effort or show much interest in being involved. Mr. Rolnick knew that transportation was not an issue for them. The family lived in walking distance of the school. He knew Joel and his parents were ethnically Vietnamese, but Mr. and Mrs. Pham were raised in the United States. Mr. Rolnick often sent home letters with students in which he detailed in-school involvement opportunities such as shelving books in the library or updating bulletin boards. He also included work-from-home opportunities such as preparing material for school events such as the carnival and bake sale. Joel's parents never responded to these letters.
When Mr. Rolnick mentioned volunteer opportunities during conferences, Mrs. and Mr. Pham politely declined. Several weeks later, when Joel expressed an interest in working with a classmate, Miles, for the upcoming science fair, Mr. Rolnick said he would need to speak to the parents first. He called Mr. Pham and suggested that the boys, the teacher, and a parent from each family meet to come up with a plan that would ensure both boys had equal responsibilities and that the level of detail would justify two people working together. Mr. Rolnick said that his schedule was flexible, but Mr. Pham said that he would speak with Joel at home and send in their plan. After hanging up the phone, Mr. Rolnick shook his head in disbelief, feeling that yet again Joel's parents could not be bothered to come to the school. Exasperated, he decided to talk about his concern with a coworker, whom he met in the staff lounge as he was headed home. This coworker, Mrs. Smith, had taught in the school for more than 20 years and often offered advice to other teachers. "I've reached out to the Phams on several occasions," Mr. Rolnick explained. "Okay," Mrs. Smith said, "I do encourage you to think a little bit about the reasons why they might not want to spend time in the school. I remember Joel's parents and recalled that they attended the school when there were very few Vietnamese families in the area. Some of the same teachers are here, teachers who never seemed very interested in them. Perhaps that has something to do with their reluctance." "I'm not one of those teachers," Mr. Rolnick said, a little offended that he was being lumped in with teachers who might have been biased a couple of decades ago.
Before 1975, there were very few Vietnamese families in the U.S. During and after the Vietnam War in 1975, the Vietnamese population began to grow drastically. Between 1975 and 1980, about 200,000 Vietnamese immigrated to America. Between 1980 and 1990, the Vietnamese population over doubled to just over 500,000. Another double occurred between 1990 and 2000, and in 2014 there were almost 2.3 million Vietnamese immigrants in America. The main occupations of Vietnamese immigrants are in service, 31%, management, 31%, production, 19%, and sales, 15%. The average age of most Vietnamese immigrants is 47 years old. The main states where Vietnamese have settled are California, Texas, and Washington. Unfortunately, we put stereotypes on others, and these immigrants were known as desperate refugees, side by side with being called chronic overachievers. However, the Vietnamese in America were willing to learn English, and about 75% could speak English well or very well. Our solutions. The first is a meeting between Mr. Rolnick and Mr. and Mrs. Pham in a non-threatening environment, such as a library or a restaurant. They could talk about more ways that they could be involved behind the scenes in Joel's education. The second solution is a meeting with the other teachers in the school district. They could think of ways to be extra welcoming to the Phams, along with other immigrant families in the area. If you were in Mr. Rolnick's position, what do you think you would do? Thanks for watching.